Use my computer. No. Okay.
Yeah, so nice. Nadia. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good morning, colleagues. For those who are joining us from different parts of the world, it's morning for GMT and getting late afternoon in the Pacific region. Thank you all of you for joining us on this very important and very exciting topic of food security, scaling up agriculture and food system transformation for economic development in the Middle East and in Africa. So an initiative that was launched at COP28 to mobilize at least $10 billion, $10 billion US dollars for food security and food system transformation in the two regions. The implementation started this year. So this is the first year of implementing the Africa and Middle East food security. And today we are very pleased to welcome our distinguished panelists into a very interesting discussion around the relevance of food security for our institutions, for our member and partner states, and the type of projects that we are planning to focus on. Without further ado, I'm very pleased to welcome our first speaker, our colleague, Dr. Male Fofana, Regional Director for the Africa region, to give the welcome remarks. I'm asking you to welcome Male with a big round of applause.
Thank you very much, Mahamadou. I think, as you rightly put, this flagship program is a quite innovative in a sense. And I would like to start by saying good morning, good afternoon for those who are here in person, but also those who join us online. It is a great pleasure to welcome you all today with this session on Africa Middle East SAFE initiative, advancing sustainable food security and green investment. We are gathering here to address the most urgent and complex challenge facing our world today, which is linked to food security, climate change, and vulnerability of rural livelihood. These issues have far-reaching impact on millions of people across Africa, but also the Middle East. And the SAFE initiative is the direct response to these challenges, placing people at the center, adaptation, sustainability, partnership, and prosperity at the heart of this pathway. As we look deeper into the initiative goals, the Africa Middle East Initiative is a unique position to unlock green investment potential by aligning sustainable practice with economic growth, creating a powerful opportunity to drive both food security and green development in both regions, Africa and the MENA region as well. This session is so particular and also timely as well. It will provide a comprehensive exploration of how the initiative is addressing the challenges to create sustainable food security for both regions. In addition to that, it would also highlight the critical role that climate finance and technology play in catalyzing long-term growth, supporting innovation, and building the capacity of regions to adapt changing climate conditions. Furthermore, since its launch at the COP28, the SAFE initiative have already achieved key milestones, and today we'll be proud to showcase this accomplishment. This achievement underscores the importance of a strong partnership between governments, the private sector, and the international stakeholders as we work together to advance sustainable growth. At its core, this initiative reflects the power of partnership to foster collaboration across Africa and the Middle East. And the session today will focus on how we can build upon this momentum to further drive cooperation. Once again, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to each of you for your participation. And I'm confident that the insights shared today will inspire further collaboration in meaningful progress toward our shared vision and sustainability perspectives for all in Africa, but also in the Middle East. Thank you, and I look forward for an engaging, productive session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Male, for your welcome remarks and for highlighting again the importance of food security in the context of two regions coming together. So the Africa and Middle East SAFE initiative addresses not only the challenges of food security for our members and partner states, but it's also about people-centered food security actions. It's also about climate-smart agriculture. But to make that happen, one key pillar is on strategic partnerships. We are very pleased today to have the chairman of two strategic partners, the Islamic Organization for Food Security and the Arab Authority for Agriculture Investment Development. I have the great pleasure of inviting His Excellency Dr. Masood, chairman of the Islamic Organization on Food Security, for his keynote speech. Please welcome Dr. Masood on the podium. Yeah. You want to speak from there? Okay, sure. I will do that.
Say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening also. Joining online. Actually, the Islamic Organization for Food Security and its mandate as ensuring sustainable food security in member state, and the link between SAFE initiative and IOFIS mandate is crucial, since the number of countries under OIC, which is Organization of Islamic Cooperation, representing 50%. Next slide, please. Next. We can see from this slide the number of countries for African countries under OIC. That's 27 countries, which represent 50% of OIC countries. And also, since SAFE also covering the Middle East, we have also other members country under OIC and IOFS. And also, if we look at the population, we can see there is a 57% of African countries are within OIC countries. Next slide, please. If we look at the total land and agriculture land, we can recognize that African country that under OIC representing 85% of the total area. But if we are looking to the agriculture land, that can represent 65%. So this is giving us an indication how it's important to have the development through the SAFE and also through IOFS activities to develop agriculture and securing the food. Next, please. If we looked at or have the comparison between OIC and the world regarding the permanent crops, we can see that about 5% of agriculture land area goes for permanent crops and 23% goes for arable land and 71% goes for permanent meadows and pastures. And we can see that OIC country comparing to the world, they are really having a high percentage comparing to the world, which also gives us indication how it's important to develop this sector. If we look at the agriculture land area, next slide, please. We can see also that, for example, in Saudi Arabia, there is about 80% of the land is considered as agriculture land. And if we are taking the average, about 43% of the agriculture land comparing to the total area is average for the Islamic country. Next, please. If we look at comparing between the world and the OIC, and we will find that agriculture representing a higher percentage comparing to the world, especially for the agriculture. If we are looking at the percentage, we can, percentage of GDP, we can find that agriculture play a big role in the GDP for the OIC countries, comparing to the world, which is give us another evidence how it's important to develop this sector and secure the food. Next, please. If we look at the products and the 10 producers for the primary crop groups, we can see that Nigeria, for example, for the roots and tubers, have a very significant quantity that is produced, which is giving us also another indication. Next, please. But for the livestock, this sector needs more development since it's really less than our reference, which is if we are comparing to the world, we can find that this percentage for the OIC is less, which is need more consideration to be given. Next slide. But also the main challenges for our agriculture development is the water. And we can see that there is Gulf region, they have a very scarcity of water, it's very extreme. And also other Islamic country have a different, level of scarcity of the water, which is really, this is given a very limited to any agriculture development. And thank you for your listening. And we hope our cooperation with GGI is giving the food security enhancement in our region, where we working hard in order to have a memorandum of understanding with GGI, which we believe that is going to enhance the cooperation and make safe initiative as a practical one. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Dr. Masood Al-Mari. Thank you for reminding us about the challenges the two regions are facing. And most of the members of the IOFS, the vast majority are in between Africa and the Middle East region. In the Middle East, if you look at the GCC members, the Gulf Cooperation Council Arab states, many of them have between 80 to 90% of food being imported, with investment availability there, but the challenge is in having arable lands. On the other side, you have many countries in Africa that account for at least 65% or more of the arable lands with water resources available, and the challenge in getting investments. Bringing these two regions together is something that we have initiated with this, the SAFE initiative, and having IOFS as a strategic partner is certainly an important part in our journey to deliver on the SAFE initiative for the Middle East and Africa. Thank you very much again, Chairman Masood. I now have the pleasure of inviting our next chairman for keynote speech. His Excellency Dr. Obaid Al-Zabi is the chairman of the Arab Authority for Agriculture Investment Development. Chairman, you have the floor for your speech, and please welcome Chairman Obaid. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evenings. Well, we'd like first of all to thank Triple GI for give us the opportunity to be here in Seoul and deliver speech and highlight the AAID missions, goals, and some of the achievements. AAID established in 1976 as a specialized funds in agriculture. We've got around 22 Arab member states on our boards right now. The principal paid up capitals from in 1976, it was $720 million. Our missions nowadays have been changed a lot, but still mainly focus on the contributing to achieving sustainable Arab food security in the fields of productions, processing, logistics, services, innovations, technologies, and so on. Even the supply chain is covered by our funds. AAID investee companies as end of the 2023 consist of 52 agriculture companies distributed in all Arab countries, mainly in Sudan, Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Oman, UAE, and Qatar. Also Jordan, Syria, and the Iraq also. We have some companies operating over there. So when we are talking about the food security and the challenges surrounding the topics, we should shed lights on the food security that is considered the main challenge, as my colleague here mentions about the dilemma of having the investments in area and having the resource in other area, and how to mobilize and bring them together in creating the value change at the end. But let us focus on the Arab world as our, mandate is focused on Arab world, as I have mentioned. So the value of Arab Gulfs, a mountain mentions in, reports in 2022, which is, around the 36.2 billion US dollars. Also, Arab region is characterized by the abundance, arable land source, optimal climate conditions for crop productions. The agriculture sector faces many challenges, include water scarcity, high impact of climate change, rapid populations growth, use of traditional agriculture practices, high level of food waste, complex repercussions on agriculture inputs and food price inflations. Also, there is an urgent need to adopt official food production systems, innovations technology in order to increase resilience to climate change, to improve productivity, and to enhance nutrition, and to improve the human health, also to meet the challenge of Arab food requirements nowadays. In the area of AAID participations and the achievements, AAID has implemented a number of projects given priority to project security, strategic commodities such as grains, vegetables, oils, etc. Also establish a large projects, strategic dimensions that is, need to be direct effects on the food security achievements or goals. Achievements, agriculture, integrations, activating the inter-trade exchange of food commodities among the Arab member states, while preserving the environmental resource and employing applied practical research and directed development projects. Also, the AAID, through its affiliated companies in Arab countries, has contributed in raising the productivities in many major food securities. We have in poultry, dairy, seeds, sugar, and vegetable. We have certain percentage. I can go through it with more details after the sessions. Our development programs center on the agriculture commodities to provide revolving loans to the small farmers in various countries. Also to introduce more innovative technology to small farmers in some Arab countries. We have already incubator in Sudan, Mauritania, Al-Qumr, Jordan to achieve these goals. A number of development programs also has increased to reach around 184 programs by the end of 2023. The total number of beneficiaries of the revolving loans, for example, programs is mounted around 500,000 beneficiaries. A number of women who benefited from financing agriculture reach around 4,280 women in this regard. Also, AAID apply research programs can be summarized in, for example, irrigation system, zero tillage system, also to improve the hybrid seed technology, introduce new crops, techniques to maximize the value of the farms. So in concluding, I should jump to the because I've taken too much time. I'm sorry about this. I should jump to the concluding right now. Due to the scarcity of the nature source in the Arab regions, there is an urgent need to find out new ways to address food security challenges in the Arab countries. Also, we are believes that there are many important measures and steps to enhance the Arab food securities, including, for example, adopting the climate smart agriculture technologies to optimize the use of available agricultural resource and to have more resilient agriculture system. Investing in agri startups in the Arab regions to disseminate the use of smart agriculture technologies and such as, the Internet of Things and the artificial intelligence as well. Investing in developing new systems such as hydroponic, vertical farmings, fish farmings, regenerative agriculture, that is, included in our strategy. So at the end of this, center on, the innovations, knowledge, technology transformation is the key players in a way of achieving, these all visions and strategic goals. So with this, thank you so much for the attentions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Chairman, for highlighting the key priority areas of the Arab Authority for Agricultural Investment Development, as well as the linkage with what GGI and other partners are working on related to the SAFE initiative. Thank you very much. And you touch on very important topics that we will be unpacking in the next few minutes when we get to the panel discussion. Many of you may be wondering what exactly is in the SAFE initiative since it was last presented to a bigger group, which was 6 months ago during the all-staff meeting. Many of our colleagues were there. A lot of things happened over the past 6 months. And to give you a flavor of what has taken place so far, we are going to give the floor to two of our colleagues. And I think Fred is online. Just checking to see. Yes, I see you here, Fred. Thank you for being online. So we are going to take a few minutes to set the scene for the panel discussion. As of the end of September 2024, we have about $1.8 billion of priority projects in terms of volume, and about $2.5 billion of what we call the longer list of projects. These projects still need some additional work as we move forward into this year one of the SAFE initiative implementation. Then what are the type of projects we are looking at? What are the type of projects investors are interested in? What are the type of projects that we consider as transformative projects for the members and partner states? So Fred will take you through a couple of slides. Frederick Barasa, our senior officer based in the UAE country program in Dubai, will take us through a couple of slides to give you a bit more details on that. And that will be followed by Nadia, who will pick three types of projects, three specific examples of projects, and then we move into the panel discussion. Fred, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mahamadou. I hope you can hear me well from your side.
Yes,
good afternoon.
Fred, we can hear you.
And, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. Yes, indeed. Before I go to the type of projects, I think I would like to just show to the audience the number and the countries that we're talking about as being the focus countries for the Africa Middle East SAFE initiative. So currently we're looking at around 10 countries in 9 Africa and Jordan in the Middle East. And I think from these countries is a good balance because you can see the linkage also from the two organizations, the IOFS and the AAAID. Some of these of the GGI member countries that we are working in on this SAFE initiative are also OIC members, and Jordan also being the representing the AAAID. So I think this is just an overview to show the countries that we're talking about under the SAFE initiative and the source of these projects that we are currently presenting in terms of the pipeline that we have for the SAFE initiative. So next slide, please. The SAFE initiative is, could we move to the next slide? Thank you. Yes, so the SAFE initiative is looking at supporting green investment projects across the whole food value chain, with the guiding criteria being building resilience to climate change and reducing emissions in the production of food across this value chain. So the types of projects that we're looking at, first of all, is projects on the input supply and distribution. Looking, for instance, the support of or the investments in quality seeds, drought-resistant seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, and so on. So these are really usually the first aspect of of investment into the food value chain. So what we need to consider as part of supporting these projects, for instance, on the fertilizer aspect. The use of fertilizer has, the capability of increasing soil acidity. So we also look at managing the issue of soil acidity when we support the projects that are related to soil fertility and fertilizer usage. The second area is in crop production and management. So here the SAFE initiative is looking at investments that improve agricultural production, promoting sustainable farming practices. The chairman of IIID has mentioned some of these practices, adoption of mechanization, as well as mechanizing the harvesting technologies. For instance, as a good example, the cassava value chain, which is one of the development bank. The cassava value chain is really one of the most important staple in the African continent. But the productivity of this crop is very low because the production of cassava is dominated by manual production. By mechanizing and looking at investment in mechanization in cassava value chain, there's a possibility to increase productivity up to by about 40% on the continent. So this is some of the impact that we're looking at obtaining from the investments in production and management. In livestock production and management as well, here we're targeting investments that are specifically geared to reduce emissions reduction in the livestock value chain, because this value chain particularly is very prone to greenhouse gas and methane emissions that are some of the prominent cause of global warming. So the target projects under this category will need to demonstrate a strong capability of reduction of emissions, and also have in place a strong, monitoring and verification systems that these emissions are actually been met. The next category is post-harvest handling. So post-harvest handling looks at reduction of food losses. To ensure also that the food is handled in a proper way to reduce the rate of pests and diseases. For instance, if you look at crops like maize, there's a very high prevalence of aflatoxins after harvesting. So the area of targeting, efficient and post-harvest handling facilities, I think is a crucial aspect that the SAFE initiative can look at as well. The next slide, please. Seems it's taking a bit of time to move. Yes, there it is now. So on the other side, we have irrigation infrastructure. Irrigation is particularly important if you talk about areas where water access to water is a critical element. So construction and rehabilitation of climate smart irrigation systems that will provide access to water for crop production, and also sometimes animal livestock production, I think is one other aspect that is being considered under the SAFE initiative. Climate smart agriculture has investments that relate to practices and technologies, looking at drought-resistant crops, weather index insurance, and renewable energy solutions, for instance, as well, is an area that we're considering again. And then access to finance is, when the SAFE initiative is looking at benefiting largely the majority of smallholder farmers that are, leading in food production, at least on the African continent. So what we see is that the majority of these farmers are not bankable, do not have access to the financial system. So through the SAFE initiative, we're also not looking just at supporting, the traditional ready to invest projects, but to facilitate access to finance and credit through credit lines, through de-risking mechanisms that can, be utilized to assess its farmers, to enable them also reach and access financing that will enable them to be able to incorporate some of these climate smart practices, to acquire some equipment that would be utilized to mechanize their production. So access to finance is an element that we're looking at in collaboration with some of the partners, specifically the Islamic Development Bank. And then lastly, we have public-private partnerships projects, because here as GGI in our member countries, we work very closely with the host government, and we are looking at opportunities to build linkages between the public actors and the private sectors in these countries, and to enable them to find areas of collaboration, especially when we're looking about large commercial projects. On the one hand, the public financing is very critical to undertake some of the early stage activities, for instance, land acquisition, ensuring compensation of farmers if there is relocation required, and so on. And then the private sector can come in and complement this large public investment by bringing in the required private investment. So this really, in summary, is a broad range of projects that we're looking at. And the projects are being assessed by the SAFE Initiative core team on the basis that they are submitted from the country. So the countries that we've shown are the ones that are at the forefront of identification of these projects. And it depends also, of course, on the opportunities and the type of needs that are available in this country. So I will stop here and hand over the floor back to you, Mahamadou. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fred. And Nadia, in the next 5 minutes, it doesn't make justice to the portfolio, but that's the time you have for setting the scene with 3 examples, and then we open for the panel discussion. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nadia Laribi. I'm from the Qatar program, and I've been supporting the SAFE initiative over the past few months. So today I chose 3 projects to present. And the reason why I chose those projects is because of the theme, of this panel is about a partnership. So these examples illustrate how partnership are enablers for advancing the SAFE initiative. So the first project I would like to introduce is the Regional Livestock and Fishery Value Chain Program. This value chain program has been initially initiated by the Islamic Development Bank, and with the partnership of that we are actually exploring with the IOFS, the Islamic Organization for Food Security. So the objective of this program is to establish a national baseline and assessment and identify gaps and turn it into an investment plan. From this investment plan, we can identify the opportunities that can be taken by the private sector, and those that cannot be taken by the private sector, we can turn it into a public investment plan with which you can apply for concessional loan from the Islamic Development Bank. As you can see, ultimately we seek to mobilize both public and private capital towards the livestock food systems. The second initiative I would like to show is a partnership that we have with the World Food Programme and with Kimura, that is a global agri-commodity trader. The initiative aims to provide farmers with affordable climate-smart agricultural input. The mechanism is made in a form where WFP will provide an offtake agreement, and this offtake agreement will help securize private sector funding for small farmers. At the same time, we aim to establish another fund, technical assistance fund, where that will be utilized for capacity building and technical assistance directly to smallholder farmers. And the last project I would like to present is the Amaniu Slaughterhouse. This project is also about partnership. Okay, so this project has been a flagship project and a priority project for the government of Jordan for many years, actually since 2009. So it's been something that has been a priority for them. And the reason why I say partnership is important is because sometimes the opportunity may be good. We may have demonstrated that financially it's eligible for any type of investors, but you need to identify who will be the local operator. So when we visited Jordan and we spoke to the public authorities, we understood that for GGI to bring an international investor, we need to identify who will operate this new facility, because the aim, they want to turn an existing slaughterhouse that is run by the government. So the employee is actually a civil servant, but they want to turn it into a private company. So we need to find a new partner to do that. So to address this, we reviewed the TOR, we renewed it to incorporate the green considerations, the social considerations, and anything related to regulation that needs to be added. But we also added an output where we want to identify who will be the best possible partner for to operate this facility. And once we have identified this partner, we can develop a co-proposal and to pitch international investor for them to pitch in. Because we do believe that some investors, if the project is right and the operator is capable, we have reduced both the financial risk and the operational risk associated with this investment. So it will be easier to secure any financial investment, either from the ICD, which is the private sector arm of the Islamic Development Bank, or from AAID eventually, or from Accolade, which is also a private company investing in the Arab livestock food systems. That's it for me. I think I'm sharp on 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Nadia. And so after hearing from Malef on the welcome remarks and from the two chairmen here for IOFS and AAID, and from Fred and yourself, the audience probably has a lot of questions, but I will ask them to be patient for a few minutes because we are going to start a very interesting panel discussion. Nadia, next slide. The next slide. So very pleased to have distinguished panelists for today's discussion. You heard from Chairman Dr. Masood from IOFS. You heard from Chairman Dr. Obaid from AAID. You heard from our colleague Nadia and Fred. I'm going to start with our Deputy Director General, Helena McLeod. Helena, after you heard a lot about the SAFE initiative. You've been involved into advancing the implementation of the first year of the SAFE initiative. The first question to you is, what is the significance of the SAFE initiative for GGGI in its mandate of supporting countries to deliver on their climate ambitions and on their food security ambitions?
So I am a really big believer in the power of increasing in small ways the impact that we can have. Is it on? Can you hear me? Yeah. So I'm a really big believer in how small improvements can, in a compound way, have an increased impact and a very, very significant increase. Now, if you think about it, if we improve the quality of our work, the scale of our work, and the speed of our work, and that is replicated across all organizations globally, you can actually meet the climate challenge. You can meet the food security challenge. So for me, this initiative is one of probably our first, where we have stepped up to far higher level of ambition. And we stated at the beginning, we're going to mobilize 10 billion. That's a big number. Okay, still fairly small in terms of the food security needs of the continent of Africa, but a very significant number. Now, when you elevate your ambition and then you set people to try and find the solution, people start thinking in a very creative way out of the box. It's also bringing together actual concrete achievements that we've had in Africa and linking it to our very significant partners in the Middle East. Now, what I mean by that is we've had some really exciting achievements. Senegal, I mentioned this morning, where we've supported increasing rice yields by double. Also in Uganda, where we've worked with the private sector in a very significant solar irrigation solution for thousands of farmers. But it's the scale that is really needed. Now, Your Excellency was saying this morning is also the quality. So in terms of importation into some of our significant partners like Qatar and UAE, the quality of the produce has to be there as well. So it's about the investment that GGGI does very well. It's also about the capacity building. So people change behavior in how they're actually addressing their agricultural production side of things. And it's about then taking it to scale and harnessing partners, as we are doing, working with UAE and Qatar, and interesting initiatives like with the World Food Programme, who could buy $1 billion of commodities. And that creates a guaranteed market and it enables farmers to borrow. So very interesting innovations that also GGGI specializes in.
Thank you very much, Helena, for sharing your views on the significance of the SAFE initiative. As you rightly put it, the first time for the organization to go at the global scale, global level, on global stage, to launch with countries, leaders from institutions and countries from the two regions, the Middle East and Africa. And 10 billion is not a lot. It's a good start, as Frank would say. So it's not a lot, but it's a good start. But it's also about transformative solutions to bring to the food security. So that's a good transition to move to His Excellency Dr. Massoud on IFS and GGGI cooperation. We have an MOU that is finalized that we were hoping to have it signed this week, but inshallah it will be in a few weeks. So the question to you is, how do you see the strategic partnership between GGGI and IFS in the context of the SAFE initiative to deliver on the ambition we set in this initiative?
Actually, since the mandate of IFS is to secure food for all the IFS member countries, and since also this SAFE initiatives also in alignment with the IFS strategy, we believe that we can together have a good cooperation, and also if we, for any financing body, any investor will be encouraged if this initiative, there is a well-known organization stand behind it. This will encourage them. And also, I think it's very important for IFS and GGGI to have a solid proposal. We believe that resources available, but how we can attract and encourage the investor and also financing body, we should have a very solid proposal with a very visible study based on the experience and the good networking and the access, since IFS has a G to G, government to government, and also for any proposal to be successful, needs a decision maker plus also private sector. So IOFIS can have that access to the decision maker, to the governments, to facilitate, any project. And with GGI, also with the experience, I think this is also will add value for any proposal to be a successful project.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Important points you highlighted here, the quality of the project that we are developing and working jointly together to mobilize the resources, building on the connections and the access to decision makers that IOFS has, and also GGI's position, experience, but also position being embedded and working together to create the synergy and accelerate the mobilization of resources and the implementation of the project. Moving to His Excellency, Dr. Obaid, you heard Dr. Masood talking about investment, access to investments. The Arab Authority for Agricultural Investment Development plays a key role into the mobilization, making the investment accessible, as you highlighted in the keynote speech earlier today. Following the signing of the MOU between AIIB and GGGI, what are some of your expectations in terms of next steps in this cooperation between AIIB and GGGI?
In fact, from our previous experience, we've got, more than 50 years. And we have a number of projects which is, failed. And the another number of projects which is successfully executed. And we get the fruits we have, look for from the year of initiations, inceptions. So the maybe a lot of mechanism can be implemented in a way of make the projects feasible, durable, and sustainable. That is, the on the grounds, the capacity building. Somebody has mentioned capacity buildings programs. That is very important. Also, the partnerships. You need somebody in the regions to support you. Otherwise, because you are a foreigners, from the point of view of the farmers in that particular countries. So you need a local partners to support you. Either we have experience in Sudan, for example. We have a successful project. Whereas, we have a shake hands with, cooperative farmers and some of the local banks, specialize in, providing sort of microfinance to support, to operate on the ground, the operations. And at the end of the day, also to provide the capacity buildings, the knowledge and the trainings needed for those, farmers. Also, the part of your question is we are stand on the other hand, whereas the know-how, technology, the experience. Also, we have the fundings, so we can added more value on your goals and initiatives in a way of make it more successful, practical on the grounds, and sustainable as well.
Thank you very much, Chairman, for sharing your views and your thoughts on how we can unlock the financial or the funding for project. 50 years of existence. That's a lot of experience accumulated by
it is, yeah.
AIIB
Yeah.
that we hope will benefit this cooperation. So that's a good transition to go to country level. And our colleague Lilian Mupende from Rwanda is our next panelist to first take us through how important is food security for the government of Rwanda.
Thank you very much, Mahamadou. Good morning and good afternoon to all colleagues. How important is food security to Rwanda? I think it's probably the most important thing to speak of. As we are here today, the Rwandan government just recently launched its fifth strategy for agricultural transformation. And one of the key elements, and this comes alongside the National Strategy for Transformation 2. And one of the key things that is emphasized in both these documents is the issue of food security, and more specifically, aspects around malnutrition, as well as stunting of children. So for Rwanda, this is of high priority. And I'll just extract a few key numbers that have informed prioritization of food security. If you look, for example, at households that are considered as food insecure, we are currently working with 20% households across the entire country. We have food stunting rates of up to 32.4%. That's very huge and can have significant economic impacts on the country in the long term. In addition to that, we have huge unemployment rates, well, not significant unemployment rates, but we do have a high unemployment rate, and yet agriculture still remains the largest employment opportunity. So with the PSTA5, which is the Strategic Plan for Agriculture Transformation, the things that have been prioritized in this strategy are food security and malnutrition. How do we address this? Secondly, it's around increasing productivity and exports, because we also acknowledge that while we're trying to meet the in-country needs, we also have to enhance the country's ability to export and attract FDI as well. So based on that, I would say that this is a critical priority for the government of Rwanda. And at the recently held Africa Food Systems in September, the government of Rwanda launched what they're calling Rwanda Legacy Program. This Rwanda Legacy Program is prioritizing initiatives to feed into these challenges of food security. And I'll just again highlight a few key things that came out of this strategy or this legacy program. We're looking first and foremost at increasing food self-sufficiency. At this point, we're at 79%, but the goal of the government is to reach 100% food sufficiency. And then at the same time, we are also looking at contributing to the reduction of unemployment over the years, but most importantly, to take the stunting levels from 32% to 15%. And this includes initiatives such as diversification of the food diet, exploring ways to introduce more sustainable and green technologies and practices that focus on enhancing soil quality, focus on optimizing the use of limited scarce sources of water. And so, yes, it is a very high priority for the government of Rwanda. And we feel that the SAFE initiative has come at a point where it can definitely correspond or deal with the projected ambitions of the government of Rwanda.
Thank you very much, Lillian, for sharing the ambitions set by the government of Rwanda in addressing the food security challenges in the country. We'll come back to you on another round of questions in a few minutes. But before that, so Male, you heard from our panelists and also keynote speakers that the issue is not about capital or funding. The issue is about the quality of the project that we bring. So for some of our audience members who may not know, you want to take us through what we do at the regional and country level to actually respond to this question of bringing up quality projects that will be attractive to investors.
Thank you very much, Mahamadou. I think there's a key important points to really look in details. Of course, there's availability of funding. Capital is here. And the biggest issue is that, how we can help countries to build bankable projects that respond to the different criteria that come to this kind of capital as well. And what we're doing is just we're looking in a different way, and thus we have a holistic approach because in country, for example, if you don't have a clear policy that can help the enabling environment when it's come to agriculture, it's difficult to just bring capital. That's first. And that's our first approach, working first with the country, looking at the adaptation agriculture policy in place. Is that really aligned with certain issues that will hinder the process? Because we talk about food security, let's say, more than decades in the continent, but it's become much more difficult with climate change because that adds more pressure. And second, also with the lack of funding. That's become much more difficult for countries to understand what is the best approach. So our first step is just looking at the national level, what type of policy can be put in place to enable the enabling environment. That's one. While we're working with the government to put in place that particular aspect, we also work on designing particular project that can help to solve particular solution, solve that particular project in the sector. I can give an example on the rice sector, for example, in Senegal, that the government was saying, we have difficulty to build and scaling up rice production in our countries. Can you help us? And they'll say, yes, we can start with what we call a small, beautiful project. And the small beautiful project and have idea first to build the capacity of the government to understand how to build the business model that can help to attract investors. And as you know, as you mentioned, farmers, they want to see to believe things. So how we can also attract farmers, understand how the business models works very well. So once you have that in place, come up with the technology, come up with the business model, but also talking with the farmers, you have to add now the financial component. And which means that you have to work with the National Agriculture Bank for them to put in place financial product that can help also the farmers to see the benefit of having access to finance. So if you put together the National Agriculture Bank, having understanding there's a win-win process for me to just put my funding there. And the farmers believe that the technology that you put in place help them to increase the productivity. Then you build a good, let's say, cocktail of things that can go. Now, the last ingredient is the government side. Because once you come with this particular business model, you build that in certain scales, you make it happen. It's not about just making it happen. It's about how you can replicate it and make it scale. To just have a large scale and at a certain level. And that's where some partners will play a critical role. Because you have shown proof the business model, there is a possibility to have impact, and now it's about scaling up. And that's the same approach we have, for example, in Senegal, when we start building on the 12th site solar irrigation system, the government now come up and pick up and put in place an SPV to just scaling up for $50 million from their side. So I think that's really our approach, really starting from the beginning to the end to show and prove the way we can conduct in a country, and also helping to just bring partners to just come up with the knowledge, but also the funding. They mentioned something, Excellency mentioned something quite important, which is the fact that some country will consider us a foreigner. And that's also we see our role as GTI, because we have country presence, we work with the government, we create a trust advisory role, and we can work hand in hand to just create that bridge between, Middle East, but also the continent. And lastly, which is quite important, is that how you can reduce the risk perception from the investors, from the countryside. And I think that's where we're also looking at the best financial structuration, putting in place a de-risk mechanism. In time, we're working with the Sovereign Wealth Fund, for example, in the case of some countries, how the Sovereign Wealth Fund can play a critical role by putting in place de-risk mechanism, saying, hey, if you bring certain amount, I can bring certain amount to reduce the risk from the investment. And that creates more traction when it's come to the agricultural sector. So all of that help really to reduce the learning curve, but the aim is really how we can scaling up much more bigger, not at the national level, but more at the regional level, but also at the continental level. That's the way we proceed.
Thank you very much, Mali. And so what GGI team being embedded in ministries, government institutions at the country level is a key part of our approach to deliver and playing that role of trusted advisor to our member state. So I'll go back to Helena for the next round of questions. And you heard the other panelists talking about the quality of the project, the investment, the specific example of Rwanda in terms of the government ambitions. So what do you see are some of the challenges, but also opportunities for GGGI and its partners in implementing the SAFE initiative, and how that will help GGGI in achieving its target or mission?
So thank you, Mahamadou. That there is something which I do find fascinating globally, which is that we have investors queuing up, especially for green investments globally. They want bankable projects, but there is really a lack of money to develop the bankable projects. So that's the grant funding that needs to be given to organizations like us to develop projects that are of high quality. They're not just sitting there because they don't come out of the air. They take quite a lot of money often to develop them. Now, we've been very fortunate within GGGI to have some core funding that we have currently put behind the SAFE initiative. And I think our teams have done a fantastic job in what has been created and achieved in this pipeline with a relatively small amount of money. But to get to the scale of the 10 billion, we will need to attract more of that grant funding. We have had some very really meaningful partnerships in the past. We've mentioned the Senegal example with QFFD. That one has been so significant, not because of what it achieved within the money that was directly used on farmers and irrigation, but because some of that money was used to create a structure that Mali referred to, which mobilized a further 50 million. So it's the leverage ratio that we can get from grant funding that is what we'll need to do to achieve those big billions. So Mahamadou, for me, one of the biggest challenges is actually just that initial grant money, which does need to come to get to the scale we need. There's always other challenges. You know, we have political changes often in countries where we work. There is a lack of capacity in many of the communities we work in. There needs to be very careful tailoring of our work to different contexts. So there's always those types of challenges, but we've proven that in most contexts, we can overcome that. There are very difficult situations in some countries, like in Burkina Faso, where we work, because of increased insecurity and jihadist incursion, which it makes it absolutely just so difficult to work in that type of environment because of the safety of our staff and you know, the safety of those communities. But in a stable governance country, anything can be achieved with the right set of partners. And that's what we're trying to bring together in the SAFE.
Thank you very much, Helena, for highlighting some of these challenges and the opportunities. Getting the project preparation funding is very important. We can do a bit with the existing funding that we have, but we need to mobilize more. And partnership, strategic partnership is going to help us into moving forward with the fundraising. You also touch on a very important point on the security aspect. So whether it's security or conflict, those are unfortunately the areas where the needs are even more bigger. Unfortunately, they are difficult to access. So food security in the context of fragile states or countries in conflict state is no one is left behind. So that takes me to His Excellency Dr. Massoud. So joint resource mobilization, it's important to do joint resource mobilization to accelerate the access to project preparation funding. What are some of your views and suggestions on how we can move forward on the joint resource mobilization between GGI and IOFS?
Yeah, actually, there is resources for such organization, but that resources is limited. But it can be used for the mobilization. So I think from that, you know, the small fund or from the budget of the organization, we can start with the mobilization project, which can attract or encourage the government or private sector to scale up the projects.
Very important point indeed. So, and that's linked to what Helena mentioned earlier, that we have a little bit of money we started to work with for the implementation of the SAFE initiative. Your point is, how do we build on that, actually develop proposal for mobilizing more resources for the project preparation? That's a very important one. You also touched earlier abilities available for IOFS access to decision makers, CGI experience. So that's also another important part in coming together to mobilize more resources. And also knowing where those resources are is also an important aspect. And as we talked about resource mobilization, Your Excellency, Dr. Obaid, resource mobilization refers for us to the resources for grants, but also the resources for investments. What are some of your advice on how do we accelerate the access to triple ID experience?
Yes, this is also a good question. Thank you. In fact, I'm not quite sure we are, talking about, the food security or as the madam here mentions a good terminology, which is, the food sufficiencies. Food sufficiency, which is, on a country, level that is, very applicable. But we are talking about the food security, which is, more proud and can cover, maybe the globe, over the globe. So when we are talking about the finance, that is, a big part of successful story of the projects. We need to handle it. So first of all, we need to open the country. We need to have a robust resilience financial regulations. Open the country for, the capital inflow, profits inflow. Sometimes, we have stories where is, the country completely because, the disturbance, there is struggles, political struggles, and the country completely blockage. So our, capital invested in this country, it's from account point of view, it will be, doubtful money. And also we don't have, we're going not receive, the profits we are, planned. So the stability of the country, very important, crucial to have, a good quality projects, successful one. The regulation, the financial regs of the country need to be, updated, modern. Also the facilities and the such as tax havens or tax exemptions, for example, need to be in place. That is, where is the government's facility can be provided. At the end of the day, if it is we are talking about the charity based project, that is another fields we're not talking about, but we are talking about the profit based project, where is the financier, he loves to see the lower risk and maximization of his returns. So as I have mentioned before, our experience with in the fields, we need to have the co-funders. We need to have operator on the grounds. That is, the key. Where is the projects can be successfully run. In addition, with the holistic approach, that is, we have mentioned the stability of the country, the regulations on the grounds, the facility of the country can be provided, such as the tax exemptions and so on.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for sharing your perspective on important and ways to actually access the more investment. Lillian, coming back to Rwanda context, the relevance of the SAFE initiative for the delivery of the government food security ambitions.
Thank you, Mohamedou. I think I'll share this based on some of the projects that we've selected as part of the pipeline, 1.8 billion, 2.5 billion pipeline for the SAFE initiative. I think what's most critical, as has been said by His Excellency, is how investment ready are the different initiatives that we have under the legacy program that the government of Rwanda is championing. During the visit of the team, SAFE team, they were able to assess and see, some effort has been made by the government of Rwanda, but a lot of these projects need to be elevated or scaled to a level where an investor can see a guaranteed return on investment. And I think that SAFE initiative comes to play a critical role in this aspect. Carrying out the right business modeling, the right financial modeling to be able to assess the readiness of the projects that we're looking at. And as I said in the beginning, we're looking at not just food sufficiency for the country, but going beyond and saying to what level can we export to other regional markets and global markets. And to be able to achieve that also comes in the element of quality. What is the level of the quality of the products that we are going to be delivering? Once again, I feel that the SAFE initiative comes to feed into that. And additionally, as my colleague Nadia said as well, looking at the element of eliminating financial risk, operational risk, because a lot of times the investment might come, the capital might come, the joint venture might be realized, but when it translates to the operational part of the businesses, it does not succeed. So if I'm just to cite at least two of the projects that we've selected for the Rwanda country program, we're looking at Gako Meat Company. This is a company that is still in its early stages, but the government believes that this can be a flagship project. And it's attracting, or it requires an investment of up to about 70 million to be able to translate into a profitable business. But one of the first things that will come to the mind of potential investors, potential capital equity investors would be to say, if I put in my money, how guaranteed am I that I will get my rate of return? Likewise with Gabiro. Gabiro Phase 2 is an irrigation scheme aimed at intensifying farming practices. And here we're even looking at the additional element of saying, how can we get technology transfer? How can we rely on the technology from more advanced countries to enhance the quality of irrigation, the quality of farming practices that we're applying? So I think SAFE serves multiple purposes in my understanding, and I feel that the government of Rwanda serves to benefit from the potential for the right partnerships to be able to get the funding that's required, the right partnerships for technology transfer, and also the right partnerships to create the required offtake for any investment that will be made under this initiative.
Thank you very much, Lilian. And I think the tone to give the floor to Nadia. Nadia, what are the investors looking for when it's come to agri-food system related projects, initiatives? If you can help us understand more, building on these 2 rounds of question answers you heard so far.
Sure. Thank you, Mohamedou. I think it's a very valid question, understanding what they want, because you can design any project. If you don't understand what are the investors' requirement, you may lose a lot of money and time in doing the feasibility study. So we have identified several types of investors based on their motivation to proceed. So the first type of investors are the sovereign wealth funds, where they typically invest in infrastructure projects. They're looking for projects that are already established and that have already demonstrated the financial sustainability. Sovereign wealth fund also, they usually don't invest alone. So they will probably have a small ticket. The ability to exit any project is very important, because obviously in times of crisis, they need to be able to exit the financing and allocate those funds towards national budget, for example. And also, but the benefits of dealing with sovereign wealth funds is, first, the tickets can be large. They are usually silent investors, so they don't get involved in the day-to-day discussions, and they can have quite a compared to other investors, a longer time for to see their return materialize, simply because they don't rely on debt, so it's usually cash that they have available. So it's the FX reserves. So they can allow a longer term for companies to access a positive return. Okay. The second type of investors that we have identified are food security departments and the investment arm. For those investors, what is important is to strengthen the supply chain of critical commodities that they cannot produce within their borders because of climatic conditions or because it's too competitive. And also there is an accent on affordability of those critical commodities, because food security is not only about how much you produce, it's also making sure that what is being produced is remains affordable. We have seen a lot of social unrest, due to the cost of wheat, for example. So governments also want some political stability. So it's really important. So, for example, in the case of Qatar, the Qatari government is trying to diversify the partners so that they can de-risk, from any, political crisis of like COVID or the war in Ukraine. And also there is a key focus on trying to get the private sector to play their part. So they will only get involved when the private sector cannot do it. The third type of investor that we are seeing are private agribusinesses. For example, you can have a company that is looking to strengthen its supply chain. So if they see there is some benefits to grow, they will invest. So it's purely commercially driven. They are usually listed companies, so they're looking into ways to increase value for the stakeholders. So it's purely commercially driven. And the last part, but not the least, are the developmental organizations such as AAID and IOFS, where it is their mission to develop food systems and food security, in a specific area. So these are the four types of investors that we are seeing.
Thank you very much.
Yes, they are part of the last type. So you have the development organizations. So, for example, Islamic Development Bank, the African Development Bank, they have a mandate to, it's part of their strategic goals.
Thank you very much, Nadia. So we had planned to end this session the hour, but I'm going to ask our panelists to allow for questions from the audience before we move to floor is open. I think I saw a few images popping up on the chat room, but we don't see it from here. Let's take comments, views, suggestions.
We to have no news.
We can have voluntold.
Voluntold.
Yeah, I guess isn't it Omar?
Diplomatically assigning Omar to ask a question or make comments.
It's a voluntold.
This is an obligatory one.
And as Omar is just about to speak, for colleagues who may not know, we have the core team for the SAFE initiative implementation.
Yeah.
And Nadia, Male, Fred online, Omar, myself are part of that team. So Omar, maybe that's why Male asked you to say something. Go ahead. In 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, challenging a little bit, but as I am even the first who initiated this program in terms of writing, at the beginning was mainly dedicated to rice and wheat for Ethiopia and rice for Senegal. And things keep moving as far as other partners are interested. And I think it is quite a big challenge and a great achievement as well. We are very far, we are still very far, but I think all dots are being linked. And I think that one of point from Excellency Obaid Saif, is technology cooperation. For me, he mentioned is very important because we cannot talk about reinforcing the capacities without also having this technology cooperation. And all those technology cooperation is not only for the farmers or those who are involved, but it has also to be embedded within the education institutions like universities or agricultural institution. I think this type of cooperation between South and South will be very helpful as far as we are implementing this initiative, SAFE initiative. That was just a comment from my side.
Thank you very much, Omar. I was going to ask the panel members to take 30 seconds each for your audience. I think we can do it in 30 minutes, in 30 seconds. Let's go around the table. Helena, do you want to go first? Your key message to the audience, yes.
Think what you can do better, bigger, faster in everything you do for the world, and we'll get to where we need to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Together with different capacity, we can do what is possible.
Very good. Thank you, Your Excellency. Over to you, Chairman.
Just to comment, if you allow me, a couple of minutes on the Omar. The technology can affect two main dimensions: the cost and the quality. So as soon as you have state-of-the-art technology, can affect the cost and get the proper profits you are planning. Then the quality, many times we have mentioned we need a quality. So quality can be, achieved by the good technology, state-of-the-art, technology implemented in the projects. My advice is to have, planning well the projects. You have, the financing, and you have the professional, technical teams on the grounds. That is, the way how to make the project very successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Nadia?
On my side, I hope that together we can develop bankable projects that are fair for everyone. I hope we don't end up with deals where we nationalize losses and we privatize profits, where the PPPs are unbalanced. So I really put my heart so that we end up with something that works for everyone.
Thank you, Nadia. Lilian?
Thank you very much, Mohammed. I think I'll just pick up from what Nadia has said. I think what's critical for us is to position ourselves as GGGI so that we can be relevant to our member states and help them to achieve their ambitions. If the Minister of Agriculture was here, I know he would say something to the tune of, we're ready. What are you waiting for? So I think what's critical is they're excited, they're eager to see this transformation. How can we position ourselves to lead this for them?
Thank you, Lilian.
Yeah, I can say there's hope. And I think this partnership is able to bring the solution, even if the problem is so complex. And I think everyone have a role to play around this table, GGI, the different partners as well, from finance, designing, structuring, but also the policy side. And I have no doubt we'll go more than 10 billion. I think it's just the starting.
Thank you, Malay. Fred, you have 30 seconds to share your advice.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you very much, Mohammed. I think it has been very insightful to hear from the different perspectives from all the panelists and the two excellencies who have joined us in this session. So I think from my side, I think there's clearly ambition from the countries, and this is also complemented by the pipeline that we see. So for us now as GGI is to find the right balance to get these projects to realize their, potential, their investment potential. So thank you. from my side. Thank you.
And thank you to the audience in the room and online, and a big thank to our panelists for this the great discussion. We could go on for hours on this very important topic, but thank you all of you. The conversation in the room ends now, but it doesn't end the conversation. It will continue over coffee lunches and other opportunities we have to work together and make it happen, make it a reality. All of you, thanking our panelists. Thank you very much.
And also thank you for the moderation.